What's up, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. For our first question, Ryan Hartley asks if a non-force sensitive person could build a working lightsaber.
I would have to say yes, because I have this, and it works when I put a blade in it, and batteries and everything.
With batteries.
Right. But yeah, I mean, the question is inspired by Savvy's workshop, and I did like how they do that at Galaxy's Edge. They have a thing that specifically attunes the crystal for you. So they have technology that kind of circumvents needing the Force to build a lightsaber.
Yeah, they've got kind of a way around it.
So take that away, and no, I don't think a regular non-Force sensitive person would be able to do that. Even like a slightly Force sensitive person would have trouble. Like, I do think it's a highly technical skill that like the Jedi teach.
Yeah, because I remember in the Youngling arc in the Clone Wars, like, it takes them a couple of tries to kind of get it right. And there's one of the kids, like, it keeps backfiring on him. So I feel like if you weren't Force sensitive at all, that would really backfire.
I really love that scene where Professor Hu Yang, like, at the last second warns, I think his name is Petro. He's like, don't turn that on. It'll explode and kill you. And you're like... You're really rolling the dice there, Hu Yang. But yeah, I think that, you know, when you go to Galaxy's Edge, it's like they want you to be able to build a lightsaber, and it is probably the coolest thing at Galaxy's Edge. Well, we haven't ridden Rise of the Resistance yet, but when we went, that was amazing. And so I do think that they specifically wrote that it's like, okay, and now we're going to plug it into this magic technology thing, since you're not Jedi, to get around that. Because what are you going to do? Tell me I can't build a lightsaber at Galaxy's Edge? Come on.
Jacob Harper wants to know what happened to all the Jedi Temples we see in the High Republic era. Nothing good, if they're not there anymore.
Well, I think a lot of them are still around. The way I see it is that the Jedi have spread out, and they serve across the galaxy more than just stay on this one hub on Coruscant. That's mostly what we see during the Clone Wars. We see the occasional, like, temple on Deveron. They still had other outposts. But I think for the most part, they just stick to Coruscant. And I think that's kind of the point, is that in the High Republic, we see the Jedi are out where people need help. They're, like, actively available. And then over the course of the High Republic, I think we're going to see why they decided to not do that anymore.
So I'm having trouble thinking of, like, how many Jedi temples we run into in the High Republic, but would it be a case where the Jedi would purposefully, like, tear one down to, like, hide themselves or like, take away any evidence that they were there?
I don't think so. Maybe. But, like, the Elphrona outpost from Light of the Jedi shows up in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic. Like, Luke finds that outpost, and it doesn't look like they tore anything down. It just looks abandoned. Mm-hmm. So it could be a thing where maybe all of these outposts were around and we just never saw them during the Clone Wars. But there's a line, I think, in Master and Apprentice, also written by a Project Luminous High Republic author, Claudia Gray. I think this is where this is from, but Qui-Gon talks about how he's like, why don't we, like, go out into the galaxy? Why do we raise all of our younglings on the richest planet in the galaxy? And we kind of shelter them and keep them in this bubble, and they don't get to learn what the galaxy is really like, which is a big thing in the Clone Wars. And, like, the Martez sisters talking about how, like, the Jedi are so disconnected from what real life is. Yeah. So I think that's kind of just the High Republic is trying to show us the way that the Jedi were and how they operated differently.
Ice Phoenix 2 asks if we can expect to see more Luke or other de-aged characters after Lucasfilm hired the YouTuber Shamuk.
Yeah, this was an interesting story that came out, and apparently it's not breaking news. It's just that we're kind of learning about it. But there's this, I think it's not totally fair to call him a YouTuber, but he does post on YouTube, and he does well, and he does deepfakes and stuff, and he has altered some of the things like Tarkin and Leia and Luke, and other movies. He put Tom Selleck in Indiana Jones, which is pretty fun. Just like little experiments, but he also does a lot of research. He writes papers. So like to put him on the same level as us feels a little unfair to him, I think.
He is a graphic designer first and foremost, I
he's
think.
Up here, we're down here. So will we see his work continue to appear in Star Wars? I'm sure we will. I'm not really expecting a whole lot of Luke in The Mandalorian, but I mean, if Grogu comes back, which he should, I don't think Luke is going to just like stick him in a ship and be like, okay, see ya.
Yeah.
I figure he'll drop him off.
That's true. Drop him off with like a little book bag.
Yeah.
And homework.
And snacks. Little report card.
Summer reading.
He was a handful.
Yeah, I think we might see him come back once. Like you said, to drop Grogu off or something like that. I don't see him being a big part of the next season, but there's probably a handful of other characters that this person could be working on for other shows. Exactly.
I mean, this is something that not just Lucasfilm, but ILM, I think, are going to continue going in this direction because, like, we've seen similar stuff happening in Marvel movies. They're definitely invested in this whole idea. So who knows? Maybe we'll see Tarkin again in the Andor show or something like that. Brand new characters. And there's a lot of speculation that it's specifically for Indiana Jones 5. I have no idea. I've really been on the outside of that production, but yeah, for sure we have not seen the last of this technology.
Chelsea Asp wants to know how Jedi like Anakin, Obi-Wan, or Ahsoka would have viewed the Force uniquely the way that the High Republic Jedi do.
Kind of, again, this is one of those things that shows the big differences between the High Republic and the prequel era Jedi, where the prequel era Jedi were more like, there's this one way to view the Force, and this is the right way, and that's it. So I think that we have to just pull Anakin and Ahsoka and Obi-Wan out, and let's pretend that they were like raised in the High Republic era.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of Anakin viewing the Force as a family. People connected in that way, because like that's his whole thing, is fear of loss and losing the people that are close to him. So
it's funny because if Anakin were to have grown up in the time of the High Republic, I feel like his story would be completely different. And because of that, I'm going to say he viewed the Force as sand.
I mean, I kind of like that.
In this alternate universe where Anakin had a great life and grew up in the High Republic, he loves sand. Loves it. Goes to the beach every day.
Yeah. But I'm trying to kind of put Anakin in his state of mind in the prequels. Like, what would he think? And so I like the idea of a family tree, but I love the whole idea of, like, let's pretend that his life were wildly different. Because I do think he would have been a Jedi that would have thrived in the High Republic.
Yeah.
And I absolutely think the writers are trying to do that to us and just being like, look how better it would have been for him. Like, it's so sad.
Yeah. Jake Berlin asks, if we could choose any part of the timeline and any medium for a story, what would we choose?
It's still, like, I feel like this would be competing with the High Republic a little bit, but I would still really like to get into the Old Republic. I'm really interested in the past, and like I'd love to see, especially the way that canon has changed galactic history. What's the Old Republic look like now? Because I think technology might be very different.
Yeah. And like what medium?
Oh, what medium? I mean, I'd go movie. That's kind of the boring answer, but I'd love a Knights of the Old Republic trilogy or something.
Yeah. I'm kind of thinking between two things. One would be somewhere around Old Republic time, but instead of the Sith, I want to see the Night Sisters.
I think that's a really cool idea.
I want to know more about their history, how they were created, what their relationship is with the Force, and just what things were like for them way, way back then.
I could see that being a fun game, too. Just the chance to wield, like, magic in Star Wars.
Ooh, yeah. I'll go game then for that one. And then the other one is just harping back on the High Republic, I've said this many times, but a High Republic animated TV show like the Clone Wars, make it happen.
I think that would be awesome. I think it'll be after the books are done, which, if I'm going to guess, would be 2024, 25. So that means they could start developing a show now, and an animated show takes a long time. So yeah, get it in development so that, like, right as the books end, be like, and now we're doing a show. Let's, like, buckle up. That would be awesome.
They have a lot of art for this time period and for a lot of these characters. So I don't want to get my hopes up, but I'm like, it's right there, guys. It
is interesting just how much they're treating the High Republic like a for the screen production. Mm-hmm. I think it's just because it's a big crossover event, and there's comics, so we do see a lot of this stuff visually. But you're right, like, fingers crossed. That's it for our patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon, where we leave every submitted question a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. We have tons of other rewards, like audio commentaries for the films and every new Star Wars series premiering on Disney+. We also record video reactions to every new series as we watch them for the first time. We're doing book clubs to discuss every new Star Wars book as they release. We have behind-the-scenes content, comic reactions every Wednesday, and more. All of that is available right now on our Patreon if you're interested.
On to YouTube questions. Hans Mork Tophole asks if we'll ever see how Obi-Wan was able to regrow his hair and beard so fast in the Clone Wars.
This is one of those things where I think that if we have the ability to change someone's face and their vocal cords the way that we see in the Clone Wars, they've got to have, like, Rogaine or something that actually will just be like, boom, you got your hair back. And, like, you rub it on and it's like sprouts a bunch of hair, and then he can cut it back down to the way he wants it.
I just like the idea of him using the Force and being like, and then it just like, and
there are no limits to what the Force can or can't do, in my opinion. So yes, I like that idea as well.
But he has to, like, strain really hard.
Yeah. Just have to believe, Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Jocasta Didn't Know wants to know how deep the trash compactor on the Death Star was.
Got some fun questions today.
I mean, when they were standing in it, it looked about hip deep.
I think it's less than that. It was like knee depth.
Yeah. It depended on where they kind of were, because I feel like in some parts they're standing on piles of trash, and in, like, some parts Luke looked like he was going, like,
well, I mean,
deeper in the water.
He gets, like, pulled under.
Yeah.
So he, like, slides in. So it's deep enough that if you're lying down, the water is above you and you would drown. But I think for the most part, it was just knee depth. Mm-hmm. But, like, how does it fit a giant Dianoga? To me, the Dianogas, and I think they even talk about this from a certain point of view, but I figure they're like octopi that can, like, just really squeeze down.
They can flatten out.
Yeah.
Flatten themselves out. And even so, like, that Dianoga isn't a very big one compared to the one that we saw in Bad Batch.
Exactly. So that's my assumption, is that maybe the Dianoga wasn't even fully in the trash compactor. It could have been, like, mostly in a pipe, and it just grabbed Luke and was, like, trying to pull him into the pipe, and like, this kid won't fit.
Yeah, maybe it's got its tentacles in, like, several trash compactors.
Ooh.
And one of the little alarms went off. He's like, oh, there's people in this one. I'm gonna grab them.
But then it heard the trash compactor getting ready to smash, and it was like, dang it, I'll come back later.
Next time.
I'll come back when they're thinner. It'll fit down the pipe.
Garrett Gates asks if we'll see any more of those secret Imperial projects from Scarif, and which ones have been revealed so far.
So I think Stardust and Warmantle are the only two that have been officially revealed. There are plenty of theories floating around for others, like Blacksaber, but I don't think that's the Darksaber. Could be. I mean, it's an easy connection.
Yeah. I mean, and, like, Cluster Prism kind of sounds like the actual beam of the Death Star. So I don't know if that had separate plans altogether,
Well, it did, I think, in Catalyst, the James Luceno book, it kind of talked about how there were a bunch of little projects that fed into the Death Star, and like Stardust was just one of them. Now, not all of them were named, so I do think that it's likely that there's a lot more Death Star stuff in there. But I don't know. I did a video about it back in 2016 or 17, making my guess for everything. And I mean, I was way off on War Mantle, so your guess is as good as mine. I guessed it was the World Devastators.
Oh, yeah. Well, from Legends.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Mark Omega. We have Omega now.
Right.
That could be something involving her.
And yes, I do think that we'll probably not get all of them, but it's such a fun little connection to make when you can. I mean, everyone, when we heard War Mantle and the Bad Batch, was like, oh my gosh, it's the Thing. And it's like...
They said the Thing.
Yeah, that's all it was. And it's still exciting. So, and I don't think that when they wrote War Mantle into Rogue One, they knew it was going to be this. They were just like, we got to call this project something. Let's make it one of those things. The nerds will lose their minds over it. And they were right. Yeah,
and I would love to see them pop up in future storytelling, like Pax Aurora. That just sounds cool.
What do you think that is? Something about lights.
Yeah. Maybe Pax Aurora is the name of that weird area that you have to go through to get to Exegol.
Oh.
Grayson Marable wants to know if we'll ever see Dark Disciple turned into an animated movie.
We've heard these questions before, but it got a lot of upvotes, so I definitely think it's possible. We've even heard rumors that, like, Lucasfilm is exploring doing more movies, kind of like the extended first episode of The Bad Batch. I definitely think it's possible, but I don't know. Personally, it's not my first choice for them to be working on, just because, like, I already know the story, I read the book. But I know not everyone did, so if they do it, like, I'd be glad that other people got to see the story the way that it was meant to be told.
Yeah, I've talked about this before, that there's always a chance that they'll go back and take some of those unfinished Clone Wars stories and arcs and finish them, but finish them in kind of like a movie or like a made-for Disney Plus kind of like maybe 2-part series. Yeah. But it would be really cool if they did it like they did with the Clone Wars movie and like did a theatrical release for them, because they got to make their money. Hopefully when things are a little bit more back to normal, we get more theatrically released things.
That would be interesting to see if they would try that again, just because, like, the Clone Wars movie didn't do very well theatrically, but, like, to just have a smaller budget, like,
the just Clone Wars fans are, a lot of them are grown up now, and, you know, they can buy their own movie tickets. They don't have to get anyone to take them, so I think I would do well.
It feels like something that could easily earn back its investment, but what do I know?
Cypher Foxy asks if we'll ever see how Bo-Katan lost the Darksaber.
We'd better.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it might come up in Mando Season 3, but she might be like kind of cagey about it. She might be like, that story stays in the dark forever. Or, I don't know, like maybe Gideon is the one that I feel like we would see it from Gideon and not her, if that makes sense.
That would be a really fun thing to play with. And when I say, will we see it, I guess I mean, I just want to know what happened.
Yeah.
And why, like, they know that Bo-Katan freely took the Darksaber from Sabine the first time around, and now she's refusing to do it. Like, they know that. There's a story to be told there, so I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. But it would be interesting to get Bo-Katan's side of the story and Gideon's side of the story. Kind of a Rashomon, like, who's telling the truth. We're getting two drastically different versions.
Okay, so drastic. So not really like Luke and Ben, how that story kind of changes.
Kind of like that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
I think that would be a fun thing to explore. But yeah, I think we're going to get that story. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitch.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.